1968 gold from the Iron Butterfly Inagata Vida. 7:58 right now. News coming up at 8 o'clock, and we'll be back at 8:05. Don't forget that 8:15 tonight we'll have another progress report on President Nixon's history-making trip to Peking. And that'll come live from the American Forces News Bureau in Washington, D.C. All that coming up in hour number 2 of Night Beat.
This is the American Forces Korea Network.
Lighting a space heater is a tricky operation. Never put your hand inside the heater when starting it. This can result in serious injury. Remember, space heaters can be hazardous to your hand.
News as compiled from major American networks and wire services is next on the American Forces Korea Network.
Korean Standard Time at the tone, 8 p.m.
It's 28 degrees in the capital city, 30 in Gwangju. Good evening. This is AFKN News. The United States and South Vietnam have agreed to a communist proposal to hold a new session of the Paris peace talks. The session will be held tomorrow. Last Thursday's session was called off by the U.S. because of an anti-war assembly held in Versailles. The U.S. argued that the assembly ruined the neutral atmosphere in which the Vietnam peace talks are supposed to be held. Military authorities in Saigon say communist forces have made 37 more attacks against government troops across South Vietnam. They report the enemy also shelled the big U.S. Army Support Command in Quy Nhon, wounding 4 Americans. Most of the attacks appear to be of the small-scale hit-and-run variety, and about half reportedly were by rockets and mortars. The 4 U.S. soldiers wounded when 7 mortar rounds hit the Support Command headquarters, damaging some buildings. The South Vietnamese government rushed a Pan-American jetliner out of Saigon today with an exiled general on board, stranding nearly 200 U.S. servicemen bound for leave in the U.S. The airline says it does not know the reason for stranding the servicemen, but it says efforts are being made to get the 189 GIs on their way tonight. The jetliner had arrived in Saigon carrying more than 100 passengers and former Lieutenant General Nguyen Chan Thi. Thi was attempting to return home after 6 years of political exile in the United States. While the plane was to leave for the U.S. with the servicemen, South Vietnamese officials went aboard and informed Thi that he could not disembark. The aircraft then departed, carrying only Thi, 3 unidentified Americans, and its crew. President Nixon and Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai met today for their 3rd round of talks. For the first time, the talks shifted to the guest house Nixon is occupying in Peking. The 2 previous sessions have been held at the Great Hall of the People. Zhou dropped what many consider to be a broad hint that some American newsmen may be allowed to remain in China after Nixon leaves. Zhou remarked to reporters and photographers that they can apply to the Department of Information if they want to see more of China. Mrs. Pat Nixon braved a North China snowstorm to visit an agricultural commune west of Peking. The First Lady mingled with school children, and she saw a 68-year-old woman getting an acupuncture treatment. That's an ancient Chinese medical treatment based on the insertion of long needles into the flesh. Russian Defense Minister Marshal Andrei Grechko says his country must constantly strengthen its armed forces because of plans afoot for destroying the Soviet Union. Gretschko said in an article in today's official Communist Party newspaper, Pravda, that the ruling circles of the United States have created a huge war potential. The defense minister said the U.S. makes the best scientists serve the task of preparation for war. He claimed that foreign sources show that half of all scientific research in the United States serves war purposes. Gretschko made his comments in an article marking the 54th anniversary of the birth of Russia's Army and Navy. Arab guerrillas continue to hold 16 crew members of a Lufthansa jetliner hostage in Aden. Yet many officials are trying to obtain their release. The Arabs have held the plane in Aden for more than 30 hours. The jumbo jet was hijacked in a New Delhi to Athens flight. The 173 passengers were released earlier today, including 19-year-old Joseph Kennedy, son of the late Senator Robert Kennedy, and 5 other Americans. The demands of the hijackers remain unclear. Police in Dublin, Ireland have arrested the head of the outlawed Irish Republican Army's official wing, Capsule Golding. 3 other members of the IRA's political section also were taken into custody during raids on a number of Dublin homes. The arrests follow the bombing of a British Army base near London, in which 7 persons were killed. The IRA has officially claimed responsibility for the bombing. A 29-year-old Portland, Oregon man has pleaded guilty to manslaughter for last year's fatal shooting of his 35-year-old wife. The defendant, Roger Powell, told the court today he shot her because she was paralyzed from the waist down and she only had 2 months to live. In Houston, a woman called police to tell them, in her words, "I finally did it. I put my mother out of her misery." Police arrived and found the woman and her 80-year-old mother shot to death. The forecast calls for fair skies through tonight with increasing cloudiness and light snow tomorrow afternoon and evening. The surface winds will be westerly to southwesterly tonight. Our forecast temperatures with lows and highs in the DMZ, a low tonight of 23, the high tomorrow 38, in the central part of the Republic 28 and 41, the south 30 and 43, here in Seoul 24 and 39. That's late news compiled from major American networks and wire services. I'm Army Specialist Robert Horner. And this, all of this, is the American Forces Korea Network.
Specialist Dave Nemo.
AFKN. 805, and all of this is Hot Rocks, 1964 to 1971. The Rolling Stones' brand new solid gold double record set. Here's one of the songs on it, Sympathy for the Devil.